Right now, what we're going to do is call the roll call. So if you would start from the left-hand side, please.
Earl Hartzog.
Ferrando Hayward.
Regina Agee.
And Richard Jevitt. Okay, at this point, we have exactly 4 members up here, which means that we still have our quorum to be able to do adjustments, changes, or anything that is pertinent to the orders that we have. As of right now, we will open this up for a hearing of residents. It will be for, what is it, 5 minutes, I believe? And what you can do, if it's anything that is pertaining to any of the items on the agenda, you're welcome to hold off with that until we do the public hearing for that. But if you'd like to present something now, you're welcome to. Okay? So do we have any people that would like to speak? All right, I see everybody running up, so at this point, we'll close that session. Thank you. Okay. Item number 4 is consent agenda. In this particular case, we have the minutes for the January 31st, 2022 regular meeting. Okay, have you had a chance to take a look at that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if you want.
Please do.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion, Mr. Herzog.
Second.
A second from Ms. Agee. Vote from left to right, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried and passed. The minutes are approved. Okay. Item number 5. It's a public hearing, and this will be open once the staff kind of presents the information. And at this point, we are looking at item number A, which is PLVARC 20222014, to consider an act upon a request for a variance to Unified Development Code Article 5, Section 2157, Dimensional Development Standards specifically for single-family residential R6 zoning district in order to permit building expansion, enclosed covered patio into the required 20-foot rear setback located at 2397 Misty Wood Lane, City of Schertz, Guadalupe County, Texas. And as of right now, we will have the staff do the presentation.
Good evening. As you mentioned, this is a variance request for 2397 Misty Wood Lane. Emily Delgado, Planning Manager. So the property owner of 2937 Misty Wood Lane has requested a variance to UDC Article 5, Section 2157, in order to permit that building setback encroachment. So on October 14th, a public hearing notice was sent to all property owners within 200 feet, and then on October 19th, a notice was published in the San Antonio Express News. Both of those notices reference 2397 Misty Wood Lane. However, the variance case that was actually submitted and requested for is for 2937 Misty Wood Lane. So when staff did complete that noticing, the address was incorrectly identified. Due to that staff notice error, the public hearing needs to occur because we legally published for that meeting, that public hearing tonight, so that still needs to occur, but no other action can occur because that address was incorrectly identified. So the variance case will have new public hearing notices published in the San Antonio Express News this Wednesday, and all property owners within 200 feet will receive a new notice going out tomorrow, and that variance case with the updated address 2937 will be heard on Tuesday, November 29th. I have a couple of exhibits. If you would like to see it, there's the public hearing notice map. That does identify the correct address, 2937. There's the aerial exhibit, and then as I mentioned, because of that staff noticing error, we need to have the public hearing tonight, but then no action needs to occur because of that address. Okay.
Question, you're saying to go ahead with the public hearing?
We legally have to have the public hearing because we noticed for it, but because 2397 Misty Wood Lane is not the correct address, We don't need to take any action. It's basically like a dead case at that point. We re-notice for that November 29th meeting. We'll have another public hearing that night for the correct 2937. But since we legally noticed for it, we do have to have that public hearing tonight in case anybody wants to speak on the item.
Okay,
Okay. At this time, we'll open the floor up for a public hearing on this particular issue. If there's anybody that would like to speak on this issue. Okay, going once, going twice. All right, no speakers, so this public hearing is closed. Thank you very much. And at this point, we just want to take a general vote to say that we will postpone this till the November 29th.
Essentially, yes, yeah.
All right?
are we going to get to see these exhibits?
Yes, so on the November 29th, we'll do a full-blown presentation, have all the exhibits. The property owner will be here to state their justifications as well, but we didn't want to make the property owner come tonight when we knew that no action was going to occur on their request.
Basically, what we're saying is no action will be taken today, and then we'll just move on from that one, okay?
If,
Just move, yeah, we need a motion to move that there will be no action taken.
to table it? Well,
It's basically just, it's not even really like
you
a
don't need a
table, it's
motion.
just,
You don't need a motion because it's the wrong
It'll just be
address, so
ta-
we can't do anything
It'll be
about it.
tabled.
exactly.
Okay,
So just
If,
basically,
on this next meeting, will you, if these screens are not up and running, will y'all bring us printouts of everything?
we can.
Okay.
And we can talk after the meeting, whether it's printouts or we can have the iPads available if that would be helpful, either way, but we can talk about it.
all right, thank you very much. All right. Item number B, which is PLVAR 200201555, hold a public hearing and consider and act upon a request for variation to Unified Development Code, Article 9, Section 2198, screening and fencing, specifically subsection 2198B3, in order to not require an 8-foot masonry screening wall between non-residential and single-family zone properties located at 1065 Live Oak Road, the city of Schertz in Guadalupe County, Texas. At this point, we'll have staff do a presentation on it.
Good evening again. So this is for 1065 Live Oak Road, the Church of the Good Shepherd. It's a request for a variance to Article 9, Section 2198 to not require that 8-foot masonry screening wall. So this is the public hearing notice map. The church property is identified by the blue. The red outline is the 200-foot buffer. So all property owners within that 200-foot buffer did receive a mailer that went out on October 18th. And then the San Antonio Express News did run the public hearing notice on October 19th. We did receive one response, which was included in the packet. They did provide a written response, but didn't indicate if they were in favor or opposed to the request. This is that aerial map of the Good Shepherd Church here. This is their existing facility, subject property outlined in green. And then I really want to draw kind of attention to this metal building back here. That's what we're going to be talking about kind of for the rest of the variance, but I wanted to show a reference between that metal building and then the existing church property. So the Church of the Good Shepherd has submitted a site plan for a proposed building expansion for their St. Vincent de Paul food pantry, which currently utilizes that metal building that I identified on that last slide. As part of the building expansion, the church is also proposing an additional driveway to the building and 8 parking spaces, which I'll show you in a couple slides. I'll show you the site plan exhibit. The St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry provides financial aid and consulting services along with the food pantry operation, and they are open every Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and they have been operating out of that existing metal structure for many years at this point. Due to the size of the expansion being greater than 25% of the existing structure, per the UDC, they have to go through that site plan process, which then we are required to review the screening and buffering and landscaping associated. So UDC Article 9, Section 2198B3, which is what they're requesting the variance from tonight, requires any non-residential property that's adjacent to a residentially zoned property to construct an 8-foot masonry wall. In addition to that 8-foot masonry wall, they're required to install a 20-foot wide landscape buffer and shade trees and shrubs. So because the property to the north is currently zoned single-family residential, they are required to build that 8-foot masonry wall. When staff is reviewing a site plan of this nature where it's a relatively minor building expansion, we don't look at the whole property. We just look at that limits of construction. So they'd only be required to install 190 feet of masonry wall. And I'll show that here on the exhibit in just a second. So the real purpose of the 8-foot masonry wall is to provide buffering both for light and sound of the commercial business adjacent to the residential. And then again, that additional landscaping. The Church of the Good Shepherd is requesting a variance to not require the installation of that 8-foot masonry wall. In lieu of the wall, the church is proposing increased landscaping within that 20-foot buffer and a wood privacy fence, which they feel provides equal buffering of the light and sound, meeting that intent of the masonry wall. So to get your bearings, this is a piece of the site plan. So this is their existing church facility, their congregation hall, their admin building, their existing parking here. And then this piece here is that existing metal building. This is also an existing building. And then the proposed expansion. So kind of shown here a little larger. And then kind of moving on to the next slide. So this is the proposed driveway. So they're proposing, rather than folks having to line up where they are kind of right now, putting the proposed driveway from their existing parking and then allowing the traffic for the food pantry to come back into the site here. So the real expansion is really only this 41 by 40 building here. This is just the expansion. This is the existing metal building, this is an existing maintenance building, so it's really just this piece and then the additional driveway here, and then they are proposing those additional 8 parking spaces that I mentioned. So using the limits of construction, this is the 190 feet of masonry wall that would be required. So they wouldn't be required to do the masonry wall on the entire back of the church property, it's just that 190 feet. So this is the landscape plan out of the site plan that we currently have in for review. So as I mentioned, in lieu of that 8-foot masonry wall, the church is proposing a wood privacy fence between the properties. They are going to maintain that 20-foot wide landscape buffer, and then they're proposing 14 shade trees, 4 of which are existing, and then 51 shrubs. So if they were just meeting the minimum requirement out of the UDC for that landscape buffer, they'd only be required 7 trees and 38 shrubs. So they are significantly increasing the number of trees and shrubs to try to aid in that screening and buffering to meet the intent of the UDC. So you can see all of that proposed landscaping here along that 190 feet. So this is the proposed building expansion elevations from the site plan. So just to kind of get your bearings, this whole back piece is the existing metal building that's there currently. And then this is that proposed expansion for the food pantry where they've indicated it would be kind of office space, a little bit of storage space, but a place for them to keep files and do the food operation or the food pantry operation. So the requested variance does not violate the intent of the UDC. The intent of the masonry wall is to provide that sound and light barrier between the non-residential and the residential. The proposed variance request, if approved, although it would not require the construction of the masonry wall, the wood fence and the greatly increased landscaping, would provide that screening and buffering that's desired between the adjacent residential property. Additionally, since they're only proposing development on a small portion of the church property, only that 190 feet would actually have that masonry wall, so you'd have 190 feet of masonry wall, and then the entire rest of it would still be the wood fence that they have currently. So by not requiring it does keep that screening consistent. So the existing metal building has been on the property, at least from the Google aerial image that I looked at least 2005. The church did buy the property in 1997, and that property has been used as a church since then. And then just as a reminder, that food pantry has been operating out of that metal structure regardless of the proposed expansion, without that masonry screening wall. So the proposed fence and the increased landscaping will provide screening and buffering that's not there currently, even though the use is already in existence. The proposed building expansion should have a minimal impact, like I said, because the food pantry operation is already there. And then additionally, just kind of some background reference, the residentially zoned property immediately adjacent to the church property was previously used by Bear Waste for industrial purposes. They used to store dumpsters there, some of their associated equipment, and then currently there's one residential structure that still remains on the property. So the request is to not require that masonry wall, but to provide instead that increased landscaping to meet the screening and buffering intent. And then really the Church of the Good Shepherd is actively requesting this so they can move the site plan along in the process. As it stands right now, we're kind of at a standstill. The site plan doesn't show that masonry wall, so we can't approve it, which means they can't move forward with building permits. If this variance were to be approved, then we could approve the site plan and then they could move on to the building permit process as well. So the subject property is currently zoned public use district and has been utilized for a church and the associated food pantry for many years. Without that requirement to install a masonry screening wall, it's really just because they're coming in for that proposed expansion that this requirement comes into play. And then by not requiring the installation, the screening and buffering intent from staff's perspective still seems to be met by that wood fence, by the increased additional landscaping that's being proposed. So at this time, staff is recommending approval of the variance to not require the installation. And then we do have representatives of the Church of the Good Shepherd, that would like to make a quick presentation.
Before you move along, can you go back to the Google Map image real quick? I see all your views.
So just kind of a point of clarification. So these are the two existing metal buildings, and that proposed expansion would literally just be right in front of the metal building that's there currently.
And the resident?
There's one residential structure that's right there.
Okay, got it. It's what I thought.
It's not inhabited, though, is it?
So from looking at it, they still have an active water account. Not sure that someone's actively living there, but they do still have an active water account.
Okay. At this time, we will open up for public hearing. It is open. Anybody that wants to speak on this particular issue, please step up, say your name and address.
For the record.
Thank you.
Good evening, members. My name is Harry Bennett. I live at 4504 Horseshoe Cove here in Schertz, Texas. I am the chair of the building committee for Good Shepherd. We'll cut it short. Instead of the Church of the Good Shepherd, we'll just say Good Shepherd. With me tonight are several other members of the board, including our pastor, Father Octavio, Father O, better known. Excuse me, I apologize. We've requested this variance simply because if we did nothing, we still operate. We still have the same impact that we have now on the property. I sent, and I think from staff's standpoint, they submitted to you my position paper that gave you the exhibits and our position on each item that the staff had suggested we approach and discuss with you. And in addition to which, we look at it from just a general standard common sense type approach. We really, with everything that you have and what Emily's already indicated, we just are here to answer any kind of questions that you might have or any clarifications you might want as to what's going on. The distribution of food that we've had have been doing for at least 7 years, or maybe 9, but with St. Vincent de Paul, it's only been about 5. So that's been our main focus, is trying to get St. Vincent de Paul to have a place that is their home, where they don't have to be in and out of their vehicles, so that we don't have to use other buildings or whatever it is, and that's the whole situation. In the exhibits that I sent you, you saw, I think, an elevation from the architect that indicated what the building would look like. I don't have that in front of me, but I think it was sent to you. So anyway, If there are any other questions or anything else that we can clarify for you, we'd be glad to do so.
Have to do that again, it's all right. Is there anybody else that would like to approach public hearing? Please state your name and address.
Ralph Gutierrez, 1016 Silver Tree, Schertz, Texas. I'm here on multiple roles. I'm the mayor. I'm also a liaison for this board, but I'm also a parishioner of Good Shepherd. St. Vincent de Paul has made an impact in our community. And as they said earlier, even if this is not approved, the operation will still continue. There is need for some of our residents, and they provide that valuable source of substance for some of these individuals. Providing this actually will help them because they're exposed to the elements. Whether it's cold, whether it's hot, the operations will still continue. And it is vital. It is important, not only for the safety of those that are helping our community. I think it's something that I really recommend, not only as a member, but I helped out there also on occasion. And I hope that you consider this and provide a positive outcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay, going, let's see, like the mayor does, once, twice. Thank you all. Public hearing is closed. And at this point, we'll have questions from the board. Fernando?
This is just background, and so it's on record. The cost of not doing the full wall is an order of magnitude of how much and how many meals would that equate to. I just want it on record, if that is known, so that when this decision is made, people know the positive trade-off made.
See if Mr. Bennett has a...
The fence itself would run right in the neighborhood of about $20,000. In terms of the number of meals that we provide or could provide, for every $100, if I'm right, for every dollar that we put in the food bank, we get $10 worth of food. So, but again, our variance wasn't based on the financial situation. So I just want to make, I know that's what wasn't your question, but I wanted you to understand that.
No, I just wanted for clarification.
Yes.
For others who are looking at this, see the trade-off of not spending that money on a fence and how many more mouths get fed. That's what I...
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mayor, a motion then? Please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for variance by the church, Good Shepherd Church, and grant them the variance. I can give you Article 9, Section 21.9.8, screening and fencing specifications, 21.98B3, in order to not install an 8-foot fence. So basically, I'm saying, let's approve it.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Herzog.
Second, Ferrando Hayward.
Okay. So we have a motion, first and second. Can we have a vote, please?
Aye.
That's right.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion is passed. Everything has been approved. Thank you very much. Good presentation. Appreciate it. All right. Going on to item number 6, which is announcements. And these announcements are by the members of the board. So what we're doing here is just things that you have attended or been a part of during the time period. Roll.
I have nothing.
Okay. Ferrando?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, the only thing that I can say I participated in was casino night. I didn't win anything, though. And then Schertz, Cibolo School District, going over the demographics and everything else. So that's pretty much it. All right. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, item number B, announcement by city staff. Okay, we have nothing. All right. This meeting, go ahead.
One thing. On this presentation for Good Shepherd, Mr. Bennett, you did a good job on that. You need to be patted in the back. It's a good one we've seen come through. That's it.
Cool. So at this point, since we don't have anything else going on, we will adjourn at 6:27. Thank you all very much for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you.